Hello and welcome back to the L15weekly podcast, giving you the latest news, views and opinions from the football world. First of all, before we start the latest episode of the L15weekly podcast, which is episode number 15, I would firstly like to thank you all for your amazing support in last week's podcast, which was all about Newcastle's takeover, which gained the highest watch time ever on an L15weekly podcast, nearly 10 hours of L15weekly podcast watched by you guys over the past week or so, and still going up. So thank you very much to everybody who has gone and watched that. If you haven't already, go and watch it. Go and drop it a like. It basically gives you all the ins and outs of Newcastle's takeover, how close it is to being completed, although things may have changed since last week. But still well worth a listen in my opinion. Again, over 10 hours of footage listened to by the L15weekly community. So thank you very much. Can we top it this week, though? That is the big question. We've got an absolute bumper-packed episode for you today. Today we're going to be talking all things Manchester United, and we're going to be giving you Man United fans, or if this ends up Woodward's pigeonhole, we have to talk 5 players that Manchester United need to sign over the coming seasons. Well, maybe even this summer, to be fair, because there's a lot of money in that bank of Man United. So let's get into 5 players Manchester United need to sign this summer. The first player I'm going to chuck into the Manchester United ring is Jadon Sancho, a man who Manchester United have been heavily linked with recently. The Borussia Dortmund man is reportedly available for £100 million. I mean, he's been in absolute stellar form this season for Borussia Dortmund, and I feel he'd fit right in Manchester United. So his stats this season go like this: 23 appearances, 14 goals, 15 assists, 53 key passes, 995 accurate passes, 84% of those completed, 24 shots on target, 54 successful dribbles. I think he'd fit incredibly well in the Manchester United side. I don't think Daniel James has really nailed that right winger spot down. I don't think he's quite made that his own. I think he's done a decent job, but I don't think he's nailed that spot down as his own. I don't think we'd be talking about Jadon Sancho if Dan James had done such a brilliant job this season. I think he's done all right, but I don't think he's done that brilliant job that Jadon Sancho could do for Manchester United. I think they need a pacey winger, really, who can change a game. I think Martial's good. I think Martial and Sancho would link up really well, along with Rashford in the middle, I think. And Sancho is also desperate for an England move. I mean, he wants to come back to England. He was a Man City academy prospect. And Man United are close to Champions League football, and if they were to get Champions League football, if the season continues, or if Man City go through with this transfer ban, I think they would become more of an attractive prospect for Manchester, for Jadon Sancho, because obviously he's looking and he's thinking, am I going to play Champions League football at Chelsea? Yes, at the moment. Am I going to play for Champions League football at Man United? Maybe not. But if he does end up playing Champions League football at Man United, if they do get it, then I think that will become a really interesting prospect for Jadon Sancho. Next player I'm going to throw into the Manchester United ring of fire is Jack Grealish, which is another player which has been really heavily linked with Manchester United recently and over the course of the past season, mainly because a lot of people have been seeing his form for Aston Villa and thinking what a sort of Man United player he could turn into, and that he could really fit into Manchester United's overall ethic and overall side. So let's have a look. He plays for Villa at the moment. He's valued at around £50 to £60 million, could be more, and I know for a fact that Everton are interested in him as well. This season he's played 26 games, got 7 goals and 6 assists, 69 key passes, 874 accurate passes, 84% of those completed, and 58 successful dribbles. I think him and Bruno Fernandes would just be an excellent combination. And I think he's been the one in that Villa side often to drive them forward. He's often been the one to take them forward and make them work. I mean, Villa haven't been in great form this season. I mean, they've been relegation candidates throughout. But Jack Grealish has often been the one to drive them out of that bottom 3 and try and get them away from it. But I feel he'd thrive so much in a team with Bruno Fernandes, maybe even Jadon Sancho as well. You think if them 3 are setting up each other, it would just be a joy to watch. And I think Jack Grealish would fitting incredibly well at Manchester United. The third player, I'm going to go into is Thomas Partey. Thomas Partey is currently playing for Atletico Madrid. He's also a Ghanaian international. He's worth something like £50 million or something like that. I think his market value is about 42, so I'd say 50 is the sort of thing that you could pay for him and maybe get away with it, or just at least put that sort of bid in and maybe get a good deal out of it. But 24 appearances so far this season, 2 goals, 1,837 minutes played, 16 accurate passes, 16 key passes, 988 accurate passes with an 83% pass success rate, 3 shots on target, 45 dribbles succeeded, 29 tackles succeeded, 29 clearances and 33 interceptions. He's that classic, sort of tidy midfielder. I want to use that word. I also kind of want to use the word functional when it comes to Thomas Partey, because he does score some goals, but he's also, he doesn't really score goals much, but he's that sort of centre midfielder who, whenever you go on the attack and the other team take the ball off you and they come down the other end of the field, Thomas Partey is always the one that's sort of trying to thwart you and then passes the ball off nicely or something like that. He reminds me a bit of Jordan Henderson, a really good engine in the midfield, maybe somebody like Fabinho. I think he's that really good engine. I think him playing behind Bruno Fernandes and Jack Grealish would be an excellent combination for those three. I think Jack Grealish sort of milling around making the build up, Thomas Partey stopping in the defensive side of things, Bruno Fernandes creating chances. I think it would be a combination and a recipe for success, in my opinion, and I think Thomas Partey would fit in well at Manchester United. The fourth player I'm going to talk about is Feitu Mawassa. He's a left back who plays for Rennes at the moment in Ligue 1, which, if you weren't aware already, that and Ligue 2 have both been cancelled this season. So there'll be no more Ligue 1 or Ligue 2 football for the remainder of the season. But Feitu Mawassa has joined, he hasn't joined anywhere, but I think he should join Manchester United. It's more of a case, I think he's an excellent player. He's 21 years old, so he's quite young, in a couple of years' time, will be slipping into his prime. He's left back, and so far this season he's played 23 games, got 3 goals and an assist, 1,802 minutes, 13 key passes, 573 accurate passes, 7 shots on target, 21 dribbles succeeded, 33 tackles succeeded, 44 clearances, 23 interceptions. He's been absolutely stellar for Rennes this season. This is his first real, I think he's played one season for Rennes before, but he's been hopping in and out of loans. Feitu Mawassa has, but it's just I think he'd be an excellent player for any team. Newcastle are in for him, and if Newcastle get their takeover deal over the line, they could have all of these players that Manchester United want, but they're also linked with Feitu Mawassa. But I pay Man United fans, you'd have to sort of argue with me on this, because I'm not sure whether Brandon Williams has got enough to be the starting fullback. I think he's a really good player, really quick. I think he's got that real determination that I think Manchester United have been lacking over recent years. But maybe Feitu Mawassa would be a better fit for the system that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer perhaps wants to play, which is an attacking, free-flowing style of football. So perhaps Feitu Mawassa would be that's that sort of player that would need to come in and give them a bit of width on the left wing. So maybe it's down to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer which one he'd rather play. But I think Feitu Mawassa, he's not going to be cheap. Let's face that. He's not going to be that sort of cheap sort of fullback that would just come in for a few £1 million. I think he'd cost you probably upwards of 20 million. For Feitu Mawassa. I think he's been really good this season, and I think this season alone, with an average rating of 7.06, you'd have to argue that he would be a great fit for Manchester United if he were to come in. The fifth and final player I think Manchester United have to sign is Jude Bellingham of Birmingham City, and I think he's been absolutely incredible this season for Birmingham City in what has been kind of his breakthrough season, I guess. He's made a couple of appearances before then, but I think he's done an exceptional job for Birmingham City this season with 32 games, 4 goals, 2 assists, 2,070 minutes played, 21 key passes, 550 accurate passes, 75% being completed, 8 shots on target, 34 dribbles succeeded, 45 tackles succeeded, 31 clearances, 21 interceptions. He's been really good for Birmingham City. so far this season. And I mean, he's still incredibly young. I mean, he's 16 years old. He's got a long career ahead of him. It's whether he wants to stick, and you don't want to end up ruining your career by making a big move too early and the pressure being a bit too much that you can't really handle it, and you have to, that ends up ruining your career. It's going to be a difficult decision for Jude Bellingham because he's got Borussia Dortmund, who he was close to signing, but I don't think he's going to end up going there now. But Manchester United look an interesting prospect for this young lad. I mean, the only thing is, if they sign these players that I've talked about earlier, can you see Jude Bellingham getting a start? I mean, what is even his best position? He can play centre midfield, he can play right midfield, he can play left midfield, he can play box to box. I think he's really good as a box to box midfielder, in my opinion. But I think it's just one of those things whether Jude Bellingham's going to want to move. I mean, I think they've slapped a £40 million price tag on the youngster. But it's whether this Manchester United move sort of appetises him, and whether it suits him, because I mean, he's got a long career ahead of him, and he doesn't want to end up spoiling it now by making this early transfer in his career. So it'll be interesting to see, but I think Jude Bellingham would definitely be a prized asset for Manchester United if he were to join. I think in a couple of years' time, I'd say a couple of years' time, and maybe 5 years' time, he'd be Manchester United's starting midfielder or winger or whatever position the manager wants to play him in. But I think at the moment I'd stick with Birmingham City for just a bit longer, or maybe move to a smaller, lower down Premier League club. Or top flight division club. So I mean, the first club my mind jumped to was Aston Villa, but that would not go down well with Birmingham City fans. Do not do that, Jude Bellingham. But maybe I'm thinking somebody like Watford, a team like that who will give him the minutes that he needs to develop as a player. And I don't think Manchester United can offer those minutes right at this moment. But I think Jude Bellingham would definitely be a quality signing now or in the future. And that is the end of another L15 Weekly podcast. If you've enjoyed this 5 players Manchester United need to sign this summer, make sure you go and smash the like button, please. It helps. Or if you want, go and watch this episode 10 times back so I get some more hours down on my view count. But no, don't do that, because I don't think they count it more than once, I don't think. But if you've enjoyed the video, please smash a like. Let me know down below if there's anybody else you think they should sign, anybody else who you think would be suitable for Manchester United. So make sure to subscribe if you're new. Make sure if you turn your notification bells on, that sounds a bit weird. If you turn the notification bell on, you can get a notification through to your phone, your laptop, your computer, your iPad, whatever, to let you know that I've uploaded a video. I mean, it's usually on a Friday, but if for some reason I'm a bit early, you guys can click the notification, and it takes you straight to my podcast, and you can like it, do whatever you want with it, listen forever. But it's great that people have been listening more during lockdown. I think podcasts are a great way to sort of distract yourself from what's going on at the moment. So make sure you drop a like and subscribe, and we'll see you next week. Thank you very much for listening. Goodbye.